Hello everybody, Mealworm here. I'm going to make this video here on moving and changing your base location using outposts. Now when your base reaches base level 4, you will have the opportunity to to upgrade and build the outpost command center. Now, mine's level 4, but all you need is the very first level because it allows you to start building outposts, and this is what we're going to use to move our base. Let's go back to the expanse here. So, first and foremost, you're going to want to find a location that you would like your base to be. Just at least a general area and idea. In my case, I want to be moving up here closer to where my union is. I'm on the cooldown, so I'm not a member of the union currently. But I've decided that I want my base to be somewhere in this general area. Your first step will be to create an operation. Now, I already have a ship here and a bookmark. I recommend bookmarking just so when you're zoomed out all the way, you'll see your points of interest. But you want to create an operation where you want it to be. Now, in my case, you'll see my operation is further than 1500 away from my base, which is the max sailing range of my fleets. So I need a halfway point. And that is exactly what this bookmark is and this operation. So if we zoom in all the way, you'll see this operation is just shy of my max. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to jump ships across the whole edge of the universe here to get to our final location. What you'll need for this are some ships, some fast ships, and by fast I mean cruising speed. So like here, let's look at a cruiser, which is funny because it's slow. This here, cruising speed is 500. Now that is purely abysmal. It's a big ship, so it makes sense. Now, unless you have, there is a named recon frigate, but if you don't have it, don't worry. You can definitely use the recon type of the FG300. I have, if I can get to it, put my tech points. Come on. There we go. Put my tech points into the propulsion system right here to get cruising speed. And like you saw, versus that 500, we're now at 1430. So that's just going to allow these ships to cruise quickly. And the reason we want a quick cruising speed is because the first time a ship enters or moves into an operation, it will have to cruise there. So, and you'll know that it has to cruise because the operation itself will have dotted lines around it. And if you zoom out, if you zoom in too far, it'll just give you like build, transfer, and blockade if you have it. But if you zoom out, it'll fill in. You can select your operation and you can look at its status. And what you're looking for is warp drive, and in this case it is no. That is because there are no ships in it. There are nothing happening in this operation, and no ship has even been into it yet. I made it before this video. Now operations like this here, see this one technically doesn't have any ships in it, but there is something actively happening. I have a mining fleet going back and forth. So if we were to select this, you'll see warp drive, yes. Same goes for these here. I have a ship in it, warp drive, yes. Now this warp drive is the goal because the mining ships are intensely slow. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to set up your operations beforehand. You'll want one in the general area at least where you would like your base to be built. And then if you need any halfway points, you'll also want to make those. Once it's been made, you'll basically just go in here, go to transfer, and send your speedy ship. And it's going to slow boat out to it. And once it lands inside of the circle, the operation will have its warp enabled, and you can then warp as many more ships as you need to it as you have jumps. In my case, I just had the one left, so I warped one more frigate to it, and then I sent, once it arrived, because there always needs to be one ship in the operation, otherwise you will lose that warp drive capability. So make sure you're always leaving one in the zone. Once that ship arrived and there were two, I sent it all the way up here to my next location. So now I have all of my zones set up and I've got ships parked in it that are going to allow me to warp my ships to it. So, and I'll show you why that matters so much. Because to build an outpost, when you go into space, you have to use a utility ship for it. And the utility ships, that's not where I needed. So even the small one, the fastest utility ship is still slower than that cruiser. These take a monumental amount of time. But at least with warping, we can get them there rather quicker, I should say. So now that I have my operations set up, I'm going to be able to send my mining. I have an extra mining fleet that's just docked here. I'll be able to send it over. I'm not going to do that just yet because there are a few more points I want to get for actually building the outposts itself. Now, if you are in a union, you will have, the blue squares and dots around for your union members' outposts and bases. Now, I have one outpost by this city, so I can use this as kind of an example here. Let's say that this is a friendly base. If we zoom out, you'll see that warp drive is yes. There are no ships here, but I can warp directly into this. Now, if I wanted to transfer a ship, because this is an operation area and I own it, I don't have to make one. But if this were a friendly outpost or a friendly base, I would still have to create an operation. And you'll see you can't put the center of the operation into the actual zone itself. What you'll want to do is make sure that the operation overlaps with the friendly base or outpost. And you'll see, because it says what's within this operation. And if I move it to this side, you'll see it's not. So what we would do is, let's move this away just for kicks, and I can show you what this will look like. New operation created. Now this operation, you'll see it's got the dotted lines, and if we go into it, warp drive is no. Now if we go to send a ship to it, you'll see by default it's going to have us go via outpost. And these arrows mean that for this leg of the journey, it will be warping. So what's going to happen is it's going to warp to the outpost the same way that it would warp to a friendly outpost or a friendly base. And then it will cruise the rest of the way into your operation. So you'll see via outpost we're at 21 minutes. If we do direct and it just slow boats, and you'll see those arrows are gone, that increases our time to an hour. And that's because these ships are slow. So the goal is to keep any traveling for our utility ships to be in warp, and that is the goal. So if you have friendly bases and outposts, you can make your operation. Our operation is canceled. You can make the operation overlap their base, and after you arrive to it that one time, it will keep its warp active because the base itself is a warp point for you and allies. So, because I don't have that luxury at the moment, not being part of a union, I had to do it the solo way. But now that I have these set up, I'll be able to send my ships out. And the reason why we have an operation and we want to send our mining ships, or mining ship at least, to the zone is because when we are building an outpost, so let's say that we're going to build an outpost here, and we click in the ground, we go to build outpost. So even if we take this and we put it right on top of the other ship, and I select our ship, you'll see it'll warp to our little outpost, but it's going to cruise all the way there and take 14 hours. If we did direct, it's 14 hours and 16 minutes. Versus if we just transferred our ship over, you'll see it'll warp the whole way 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So that is our goal, is to always be warping the ships. So in this case, actually let's go ahead and do that because I need to get my moving on here. I'm going to send this mining fleet, and it's going to pull out from my base and warp a little booty all the way here. Once it arrives, I'll be able to again tell it to warp all the way here. And once your mining ship is in the final destination, then at that point you'll want to go do the build. I don't have any ships available, but you'll be able to do the outpost build, select where you want it, and then the mining ship will cruise from your final destination operation to where the build is. And then once it completes the build, we'll be able to move on to the next step, and that is actually relocating your base. Once the outpost is built, then you'll be able to move your base. And moving your base is super simple. I don't actually have an outpost that's done and built right now to show you exactly, but you'll be able to, actually I think I do have an outpost. There we go. So this is my outpost.
Reporting for action.
What I can do is you'll see that once it's built, you have the relocate option. And if I click this, say you want to, here's your base, we're going to relocate. One thing to note when you are relocating your base is you cannot have any builds happening. So if you have base upgrades, if you're building ships, they all need to be done. So unless you have a stock of speed ups to use, you want to time this to a point where you don't have anything ongoing. The other thing is it will take all of your ships with it, but only the ones that are docked. So in this situation here with my base, I have all these mining fleets out. These mining fleets will end up staying here if I moved my base. And that would suck. So what you want to do is make sure you dock all of your ships. The easiest way to do that, honestly, is just to cancel all of the operations, because that would force all of your ships to retreat. And once that's done and all your ships are in your base and you have no builds, you would go into your outpost,
10-4.
do relocate, and it will instantly transfer with all of your ships. You can then, set up what you would like, for your mining and everything, and then be on your way in your new location. So that's basically how it's going to go. If you have any other questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord, and we'll get everybody all posted up soon.